Quick editor note. This episode was filmed about a year ago. I didn't edit in time for last Halloween, but this Halloween, I got you guys. And obviously we're on a hiatus, an infinite hiatus. So we just like to thank all our supporters and our guests. Thank you. It was fun.
A time you wanted an external validation.
Hi, welcome to the Memory Club podcast. We're like a book club, but we share our memories instead. Hi, I'm Vit.
Hi, my name is James. And today we all have another special guest. She's been on our podcast before. And it's Lily.
Hey, hi.
Welcome.
Good to be back. Oh my god, I feel like it's been almost a year since we did the first one.
Has it been a year?
Maybe a little less than
than a year.
Yeah.
A little less than a year, but it's getting there.
Yeah.
So, I feel like we had a really good chemistry on that episode when we had Lily on our episode.
Wait, you were pretty much the first one, right? The first collab, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Yeah, that was really good. I really liked the energy that we had. So, I was like, we gotta have Lily back. So
Now I'm here.
and now she's here. So welcome back. So today, before we just get started with the whole episode, I just want to ask, because Halloween is gonna be coming up, what is your guys' favorite Halloween costume?
Okay. Do you want to start, James, with yours?
Sure. So I think, my favorite Halloween costume, I think for me at least, to dress up as, I think, I really liked Spider-Man when I was like a little kid, like watching Spider-Man. So it would have to be Spider-Man, even though like it's not the most unique, but I would probably say Spider-Man is my favorite.
Okay. Like
How about you guys?
Any versions of Spider-Man or just like the OG Spider-Man?
Just like the OG Spider-Man. That was like the first superhero that I was like really got into when I was little. And I think I still really like Spider-Man in the Marvel universe right now. Because of like my fond memory from back then. So I feel like the OG Spider-Man look would be a cool Halloween costume to kind of go for.
Wait, who's your favorite Spider-Man out of like all the Spider-Mans?
Oh, like the all the like the movies.
Yeah.
Like non-cartoon.
Yeah, the movies. Who's your favorite? Which actor do you think plays the best Spider-Man?
I think the most recent one. He's his name Tom Holland.
Yeah.
Tom Holland, right? Yeah. I think Tom Holland. I didn't like the first movie of the Spider-Man, but then like the more I watched, I can see the character development and him maturing into like a Spider-Man, and just like becoming like his own himself and a superhero and taking that like responsibility. I like that growth. I really liked it, and I'm starting to become really fond of him. But I've also really liked the original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. I think Tobey Maguire, right? That's his name. Yeah. So probably those two are my favorites.
Okay, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Lily?
I guess mine's kind of like, maybe it's kind of like basic or boring, but it's sentimental to me. I think growing up, for some reason, almost every year for maybe like 5 years straight, I dressed up as a witch for Halloween. And it was like a different kind of witch. Like I'd be like a spider witch or just like a black and orange witch. sometimes like I would have a broom, but like they'd all have like different hats and different dresses and stuff. So, and I don't know what started me on dressing up as a witch, but now that I think about it, it's been a really long time since I chose that costume. And I feel like I kind of want to do it again because I just like the dark, like gothic aesthetic and like all the different accessories and like the black cats and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that's like that. I don't know. That costume's got like a special place in my heart for some reason.
So if you were to bring it back, what kind of witch would you like? What kind of like curveball would you throw at us?
I feel like it would be fun if I could do like the Sanderson sisters or the Sanders sisters. I forget. It's like the three witches from that movie Hocus Pocus. Cause it would be, cause I also I like doing group costumes too. Like I always think that's fun. Yeah. So I think that would be like a nice twist that I could do.
Yeah. That would be cool. You just need like 2 other people. I think that would be good. Well, for me, it's I usually like group costumes too, like you were saying. For me, I think it was the one time we went to like a music festival and we kind of did the like Avatar, and
I love that.
I was Zuko, and
I remember
like
that look.
everyone else.
I remember that look. I remember that look.
It was like, but it was kind of like bootleg, but I mean, it was still cool. Like,
yeah,
because I didn't know how to do the eyes, so I just like put like red, kind of like red coloring on my eye. It was like it was more of like my eye was irritated more than like a burn, you know. But it was cool. And then like we had like Appa, we had like we didn't have Aang, but we met like another Aang there, so it was kind of cool.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
So
that's
cute.
Cool.
And it was cool because like people didn't know who I was until they like looked at me a little bit longer, and they were like, "Oh, are you Zuko?" And then like everybody was like, "Oh, are you Zuko?" and this and that. Like you could like hear like people whispering here and there. So it was kind of cool.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, I might bring it back.
I think you would make a good Zuko. Like I could see that.
I could see it too.
Yeah.
Maybe improvement on the red paint on the face.
Yeah.
I need someone to do like really good makeup. I think it would, but I feel like it's hard to make like a burnt eye look good. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm not sure. I need, if anybody knows how to do it, let me know.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
It would be cool. Honestly, I feel like if you were to do it, I feel like it would be cool to like bring back the whole crew to do the Avatar theme. And then we have an Aang and everyone.
That'd be kind of tough because a lot of the people they have kids and stuff. But maybe when we have like a get together in the future or so, we could do a throwback with the kids.
Throwback.
Yeah, with the kids. Make the kids
know,
like
with the
Appa
kids.
or something.
Exactly.
Oh my god.
It was kind of cool too because I had like my own like fire fire warriors too, like fire benders. Like they would just like follow me around.
Yeah.
How big was your group?
It wasn't too bad. It was like probably 13 people or so. Something like that.
You know, our group is pretty big.
Yeah, it's always big.
It's always big.
18 minimum, I feel like.
18 minimum. It's like any kind of event we have like 18
we
minimum.
gotta do it like that.
5 people joining last second. It's the whole shebang.
Yeah, the surprise guests. The
surprise guests. Oh my god, 10 surprise guests. Yeah, that's our group.
But James, what are we talking about this month? What is the hype of this month?
So I feel like we're like just a tad bit late on the hype, but I saw a lot of TikTok or videos about interpretation for the movie Barbie. So I decided to I wasn't planning on watching it, but I watched it, and I felt like there were some moments that I was like, that really got me thinking and just kind of like just think about how it applies to our life in general. And I think the one part that really was like really had me thinking was that it was like an early part of the movie in the scene where Ken is literally just waiting for Barbie to come and say hi, Ken, and that's literally all he's looking forward to. You know, that's will break or make his day whether she says hi, Ken, to him. You know, and it just got me thinking. You know, I feel like there was a time in my life where I felt like if a girl that I really liked just said hi to me, and it would make my day. You know, so you know, I felt like for today's episode, it would be interesting for us to talk about a memory where we wanted an external validation, right? Someone that doesn't have to be a romantic interest. For me, it was, but you know, someone where, you know, like you were seeking that happiness outside of yourself and just from someone else. And, you know, from that like external validation. So I thought it would be a good memory to talk about something like that.
Yeah. It's crazy because this movie has like so many themes, like so many kind of like, you could grab so much like values and principles from it. Like there's a lot of feminist values. There's like a lot of like social like norms, like they're breaking like certain things. And it's kind of cool that, you know, you just pick one scene and it kind of means a lot to you. Like Ken seeking that external validation. I feel like that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think honestly, being a guy, I feel like a lot of the things that are applied or like messages are like that are sent in the movie. I feel like I had a harder time relating to it just because I'm a male. But yes, that's why I think that's why I related more to what was happening to Ken. But you know, I feel like it could be applied to anyone.
Yeah. I think also I was kind of surprised in general though, because I feel like one could argue that a lot of the themes were about Ken, but it's almost as if they were using Ken to kind of illustrate maybe issues that like women are more familiar with, but they put it like in a different perspective. But yeah, I was really surprised by the movie, like pleasantly surprised by all the different like lessons and stuff.
Yeah. I thought it was gonna be like a child movie, like where like it's like for kids to come and watch. But,
yeah, I know. It got so real.
So real. I was just like, oh, what? I was not ready for a life lesson. Yeah. So, I don't know. Should I go first?
Yeah, James, why don't you share your memory?
So I think for me, it's just, I feel like it's hard for me to say just like one specific memory because I feel like it was such a big chunk of my life where I sought this like external validation per se. Like I think it's I'm gonna talk about it in terms of like a series of how I like changed my mind about like seeking external validation.
Okay.
So like you know, like I think there was a part of me in high school too, I would say like I was until I'm like 24, 25, where I felt really like like not confident in myself. And I always felt like, I had that, you know, that nice guy victim cosplay where I'm just like, dude, I'm so nice too, women. And they never like me for who I am. And, you know, I just like want them to love me even, you know, for who I am, those kind of things. And I thought that like external validation to make me feel happy. You know, it's like, you know, like I feel like I deserve more, you know, like I feel like I deserve more. And I had that validation. Like I was like looking for that validation. And, you know, like I used to write things like my high school essay, I actually wrote this, I remember, because I was so bitter about this whole situation. And where I was like, oh my gosh, women, they're like a game in you know, like a GameCube controller, you know, they're like, you push this button and button here and there, and they're so easy to manipulate, and guys take advantage of that. And, you know, I got a lot of hate for it because my teacher read it out loud in front of the entire freaking class. But, So but that was the mindset I had, back in high school and those kind of things. And I think it really inhibited how I interacted with women until then, until I think my most recent relationship. And I think it was weird because like I came from a place where I like did all these things and like I was like really trying to please her because like I wanted what I just assumed at the time. I was like, her happiness was my happiness. That's what I was thinking,
Mm-hmm.
But obviously like it really wasn't. But something I really learned was that like I really don't need someone else to show that like that I am like more than what they give me, like I am more than like what I am validated by other people, like by my significant other, because like I really felt like I gave my all in that relationship, and that kind of showed me like what I am capable as a person in a relationship. Like I saw, I kind of found myself to be like, oh, like, dude, I can be like this kind of a person. And like, I didn't know about that by myself. And it wasn't because of like what she did to validate me, but it was more like something like I just like discovered from myself. It wasn't that like, oh, like because she like, oh, I did this thing and she loved me more. It wasn't that. It was more like, I didn't know I was capable of being this patient. I didn't know I was capable of being like this understanding or communicative in a relationship about this kind of thing. And that really helped me understand like, oh, like I don't need her to like validate me in order for me to feel confident. And like, I feel like I genuinely have become a lot more confident as a person after that. And just putting more value in myself, like on what I deserve and what I could be as a person, felt like that was a little jumble, but yeah. So I feel like now where I am now, I feel like I feel a lot more confident and I don't really seek that external validation to really like make me feel like, I mean, I feel like I still do. I feel like everybody still seeks some kind of external validation, but then I feel like it's at a lot healthier point where I'm just like, I want to improve as a person. Like I would be willing to listen to what people are telling me. I'll be like, I want to improve, but then it's more, it's no longer where I'm like, I need that external validation to feel value in myself.
James, let me externally validate you right now. It's okay to feel that way, James.
Yeah.
No, but to be serious though, yeah, I do agree. Like everybody to a certain extent, like needs that external validation, but to what degree? Is it like consuming you? Like, is that all you live for? I feel like, So I do agree with that concept because I feel like we are social beings and we're tied to people. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, I didn't even realize I was like seeking, like I was like masking it to be like, oh, like their happiness is genuinely my happiness. It used to be like that. But it wasn't. No, I mean, I genuinely feel like if my partner is happy, I'm happy too. But then, like, you gotta still have some like understanding of your own self and understanding what makes you happy outside of coming from like outside of what's coming from like the significant other.
Yeah, because especially you're not always going to be able to make your partner happy all the time. So that's like you're walking like a rocky thin line. If you're like, this is how I'm going to be happy. If they're happy and I can do that. So yeah, it's a good reflection.
Yeah.
James, how has your partners like, I guess reacted to this? Like, you kind of seeking this external validation.
Okay. So now that I think about it, like So so that's the thing. So that's why, like, I feel like what I was always having problems with back in the days is like, whenever I would text like a person that I really like, I would have the hardest time being myself, right? Because like I'm so scared of offending this person, like Lily said, you know, like you're walking on eggshell, and so you're putting these like cage and boundaries on your own personality that I can't fully express myself, you know, like be the charismatic, charming person that I am. I'm not showing, I'm not showing that, you know. So,
yeah, it's like
so
you're writing your own prophecy, pretty much.
exactly,
it's a self-writing prophecy.
Exactly. So I feel like I think I was like kind of sabotaging myself whenever I did that, and it probably didn't look good, you know, in my partner's eye either. You know, it's like, oh, this guy is like always like trying to just please me, and probably like doesn't like have his own words or thing to say. So yeah, I think I've definitely changed from that, where I'm comfortable saying like how I feel, even if I feel like that might not make them happy, you know?
It's good. Yay. Yeah. We love to hear it.
Good reflection. Good reflection.
Yeah, good reflection. That was like a reflection, and then I got another reflection while we're talking about it.
Within a reflection.
Yeah, within the
while
reflection.
Reflecting, you got a new reflection.
Yeah, it's like an inception right there, dude.
What about you, Lily? Do you have a memory for us?
Yeah. Mine I feel like is similar to James's in the way that like it was a romantic relationship, and it definitely was surrounding around the fact that like it was during a time where my self-esteem was probably very low, and this is all like 2020 hindsight. I was not aware of these things like when it was happening. But my self-esteem was probably really low. I had recently basically gotten out of like a really, really long-term relationship. And then I got into another relationship maybe like a couple months after.
How old were you?
I think I was like fresh out of college. So I must have been like 23, 24. So fairly young, right? Frontal lobe not developed yet. Still a baby. Yeah. But yeah, I gotten out of a really long-term relationship and then like got into this one maybe like a couple months after. I think deep down too, I knew that I wasn't ready for that relationship, but there's like a lot of things going on. And I did anyway. So I think coming out of that really long-term relationship, I didn't really know who I was anymore outside of that relationship, right? Like I spent a good chunk of my life with this one person. Now, like it was no more. Now I'm with this other person. And I think I was doing a lot where I was feeling like if I wasn't being interested in or had a certain taste in things, or like if I dressed a certain way, if I listened to certain kind of music, like if my partner, my new partner at the time, like didn't also like those things, or if he didn't express that like he thought they were cool or something like that, for some reason that really like made me question whether or not I even liked it. Or sometimes too, it even made me change my mind on like, oh, actually, I actually don't like that. And I have like one concrete example, and like looking back on it, it's kind of sad because I just wasn't aware of how much I was being dependent on this like external validation from this guy. But like I remember I had like just moved into like a new apartment. So I was really excited about decorating my room. I was getting like some new furniture and just like, you know, just new decorations, whatever. And I knew I wanted to buy a rug. So I had been just like browsing for a couple of days online, trying to find something. And I came across this really pretty rug. It was like pink. It was like the perfect size. It was almost like this, like, almost like hipstery, like not tribal, but like very like intricate, like pattern. And it was just like different shades of pink and like neutral colors. And it was on sale. And I was like so hype about it. So I bought it. I like picked it up at the store. I came home with it. I set it up in my room. I thought it looked like so nice with everything else. Like my cat really liked it. I took like a bunch of pictures of it because I was just like so happy. And then I remember that night I went out to dinner with him and I was like so excited to show him. And I was like, oh, like I did something today. Like I decorated my room. I bought a new rug. Do you want to see it? And he was like, yeah, sure. Like show it to me. So I showed him the picture and I just remember him like looking at it and immediately he was just like, oh, it's not really like my taste, but yeah, like that was it. It was the most like lukewarm reaction ever. And I feel like I don't know what I wanted him to say. But in that moment, it just made me feel like, oh my gosh, like, did I make a mistake? Did I just like spend money on this rug? That's like, is it ugly? Like, should I return it? And I actually like, I think he saw that I got like a little upset and he was like, what's wrong? And I was just like, oh, I don't know now. Like, now I feel like I should return it. And he was like, immediately he was like, what? Like, no, like, why? Yeah. Just cause I said that I don't really like it? Like, that shouldn't matter. Like, it's your rug. If you like it, you should keep it. But I just feel like I was so like lost and like insecure that I was just like, oh, I don't know. Like, I feel like I wasn't sure about it anyway. And like, I could get my money back. Like maybe I'll get something else. And I actually ended up returning the rug. And it was so like, looking back again, like I said, it kind of makes me sad because like I was genuinely like really excited about this rug. But yeah, just like that small like comment, like his like very neutral, like him just being like, oh, it's not really my taste. Like, but also too, I don't know. I just felt like, I don't know. Maybe like I just wanted him to be excited for me because I was excited.
Yeah, I see.
And instead, like he's just telling me, he's like, oh, I don't really like that. I'm like, well, yeah, I don't know. We're not the same person. But so 2020 hindsight, I think the biggest thing that I kind of took away from that relationship was like, I don't need to date someone who likes all the same things as me and has the same opinions and has the same taste because like, honestly, I don't know. If someone was like exactly like me, I just feel like that goes against what I feel now, which is like, I just feel like I'm so confident in who I am and what I like. And there are different things about me that make me like special. You know what I mean? They're like special to me. And like, it shouldn't matter if like, I'm not the same as my partner. Also, like, why would I be the same as them? Like, that's kind of weird. I don't know. Like, I feel like I don't want to be mirroring someone all the time. And that's not how it should be. You should be with someone because you enjoy parts of them, whether they're different from you or the same. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. I feel like he taught me a lot. And same thing like James was saying, where he was like, with your partner, it probably didn't make her feel good because she could probably tell that like maybe you were like kind of insecure or that like you weren't so sure of yourself. Yeah. I'm sure he felt the same way like about me. And I think the biggest thing I learned from him too was like, it's really important to get a sense of who you are and to like unapologetically like be who you are and like what you like, whether or not other people like it or not. Cause like that doesn't matter. Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
that's interesting.
So, yeah, it's just crazy. It's like a rug, you know what I mean? But I just feel like that memory like reminds me all the time. Like, cause I just like the things that you like, Lily. Like, yes, okay. Yeah. So
Lily is funny because it kind of reminds me. I date like a similar girl to that, where in a sense they kind of they act like Taylor Swift has this song. It's called Mirror Ball, and it's pretty much like she's describing how she kind of just like whoever she dates, she kind of just like mirrors the person. And like the guy is looking at the mirror ball and he sees like little shards of himself, like little reflections of himself, kind of, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's why when I date like similar people like that, I usually kind of withhold sometimes my opinion on things because I know if it's not like important or anything, I'm not gonna like have a strong opinion on it, you know? even though I might have a strong opinion, I'm just gonna like kind of like lessen it because I know the results of it. Like I kind of could see where it would lead to, but that's like after like you experience this multiple times where you see like your partner or your friend like kind of mirroring you or trying to like seek this out. I kind of like just think ahead and I'm like, okay, I see what they're doing and I don't think this is important and I'm just going to let them like enjoy the moment. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think too, like withholding stuff and like withholding opinions, I think people say that like, especially even early on in dating and meeting new people, sometimes that's important to do too, right? Because you don't want to get caught up in like thinking that you really like someone, but it just turns out they've just been mirroring you the whole time. And you kind of get a sense that like, oh, like I don't even know if this person's like, are they being even like authentic? Like, are these even their own opinions? But yeah, I think now it's like, I think maybe back then, even more so, it's like, I don't think I expected him to be like, I really love that rug too. Like, I think if anything, I just wanted him to be, like I said, like, to validate my excitement about it and to be like, oh, like that, I'm so happy for you. Like, you know what I mean? Which, you know, I think long term, I realized like, he didn't really, I think a lot of the times he just really liked expressing his opinions because he felt like he had a very strong sense of like who he was and who he liked. But sometimes I was like, I actually didn't want your opinion, but yeah.
Actually, could you withhold your opinion?
Yeah. Like, can you just let this be about me for like a second?
Yeah. It's kind of tough. It's kind of tough because like, when you're in that kind of mindset, it's just like a burning, you know, like a passion, like I have this opinion, I have to express it, you know? But I think when you mature, you realize, dude, you gotta chill. So
yeah. Just let other people have like their moment sometimes. And like, that's cool. And also too, like I can celebrate my own moments as well. Like I don't need other people to celebrate it, but yeah. So I'm glad I'm like very grown from that like phase of my life. Cause yeah, it's just kind of sad to think about. But again, like you learn a lot. So very grateful.
Yeah. It's cool. Well, I guess it's my memory now. And I guess my memory it's kind of different from what you guys are talking about because it's not romantic. It's more like a platonic relationship. And for this one, it was during like a graduate school and my roommate during that time, it was like, I feel like we were trying to seek validation from each other because we would always try to share our principles, our values, and we're so strong. Like we're so strong in like opinion. And I'm usually very idealistic in my opinions or my principles or my values. And he's more realistic. And every time we were just like throughout the whole 4 years of like graduate school, we would just continually like try to prove each other wrong and try to put all this like, you know, effort in just to like conflict with each other. And and looking back, I'm trying to see like, I was just trying to seek validation in the sense that I just wanted him to see like my point of view. And I believe that he was trying to do the same thing, right? We're trying to seek that validation. Like, yo, could you just say like,
I'm
you
right.
understand me? Right. Yeah, I'm right. And he was trying to do the same, you know? So we're both doing the same.
Yeah.
And then when we graduated, we didn't talk for a little bit. We didn't talk for probably like a couple years. And recently we kind of rekindled. So now this time around, it's a little bit different. When we talk about our principles and our values, it's more of we're sharing our principles and values in a different sense that we're trying to understand each other in a sense that we're not trying to prove each other wrong. It's more of, hey, I see this aspect in life. Do you see it too? And then we're like, oh yeah, actually, I actually see that. So he's more like trying to be more idealistic now, and I'm more leading into his realistic principles now. And it's crazy because I've never thought that our relationship would get to this point. And now, in a sense that I see that he's pretty much going through a similar journey as me, and he sees the same. And it's crazy because I think it's like I wouldn't think that we would like peak to this level of like relationship. I didn't think that a platonic relationship could get like to this level. I honestly, in undergrad, or in graduate school, I thought that was like the peak of a relationship, that we would just continually fight over these principles and values, trying to prove each other wrong. But now it's more like we're sharing, and we kind of like intertwine our principles. So it's like his strengths are my strengths, and you know, we're sharing kind of like techniques for each other to kind of improve ourselves both in a way, because like it's not good to be like too realistic, and it's not good to be too idealistic. It's just like two extremes, you know? I believe like it's a better balance if you're in between, right? But now it's crazy because we're helping each other balance each other out, and it's improved our relationship so much, because now we just want to like be around each other a lot and just like talk to each other and share these values. And dude, we just been like honeymooning on this like relationship. Like we've been like going to like music festivals. We've been like, you know, hanging out, just like sharing kind of the world together. And I really like that. I never thought that, you know, again, a platonic relationship could get to this level. And I'm just like, nowadays, I'm just like, every relationship seems like a puzzle piece to me. And I just need to kind of like see where it kind of like connects. So that's why I don't know. I just love like, I'm on this like high right now and just like building relationships. And yeah, that's pretty much my memory on this. Yeah.
That's so good. Have you and your friend acknowledged at all this like shift in your relationship? Like, have you guys talked about it at all? Or do you think this is more of like your own reflection?
I did talk to him about it, because he was seeing our relationship. He was like, oh, you know, we've always been like this. I was like, no, it hasn't been this way. I even told him, I was like, you know, I told him that I feel like we peaked in graduate school. And then I kind of got salty at him because he was going through some like personal things. And I kept trying to reach out to him, and I would just get silence. But, you know, for me, I'm always open to relationships growing, whether they die out or they continue. I am a very optimistic person, so I usually see, like, maybe we'll get there someday. And this is the one example I felt like kind of proved my point, or at least like proved where I thought like the relationship, you know, would grow. So I told him that, and he was like, oh yeah, you're right. It's a little bit different.
It's like full circle.
Yeah.
It's like full circle.
Yeah. But yeah,
that's cool though.
It's so wild. It's wild how like relationships change.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's something that you mentioned early part of the story, where you seek a validation of being right. I feel like I do that a lot, to be honest. Where
okay.
I feel like I feel like that's why I like debate so much, because I feel like there is a sense of like, I want to be right, or I want to be validated right, you know? I mean, I feel like I've at least gotten to a point where I'm like, I know I'm doing it, but I also feel like I'm not doing it to a level of toxic, or like where I'm being toxic. So I just kind of like, I'm just gonna keep doing it. I don't know, maybe it is toxic.
Yeah. I mean, you just like to have fun. I feel like you kind of just like to shake things up a little bit and see where it goes.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like,
Yeah.
because I like to do that too, but I don't really like to argue too much. I like to just shake things up and not just like let other people argue. I'm like, okay, you guys go ahead and do it.
This guy stirs shit up and then Mike.
No, but it's like I feel like it's not that bad. It's like, who's better, like Ariana Grande or Taylor Swift or something like that. You know what I'm saying? It's not too crazy. It's like, things like that. But,
yeah. For the most part, not always. I feel like sometimes it is about a lot more serious things.
Yeah, because there's a difference between being right about like Vit, like your example, like your ethics and your morals versus like, I don't know, like a frivolous opinion or debating about like something like more scientific, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Like one's much more personal.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, and it does hurt when someone like can't just accept and validate that your views are just different. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I have a hard time. It's like, I understand like people's views can be different. They are different. But one is wrong.
But they're wrong.
One is wrong.
One is more right.
One is more right. Nah, I'm just kidding. I feel like okay, here's my take on that though. I feel like, it's like there is a sense of like, if you want to get from point A to point B, there's multiple ways you can get there, right? So I agree that people can have different views and different way of doing things. But not every path will lead from point A to point B, right? So it's just like that. Like not every single view should be accepted and just accepted that as long as you have an opinion, it should be, I don't want to say respected, but it should be viewed equally, Like, I think there are things that you can't just put a value to be like, what's more right? But I think there is a sense that like, there has to be some kind of like it's like tiny bit of, that probably view isn't the best view. Like I feel like there has to be a little bit of that. And while being respectful, like, of course,
Yeah. It's hard because it's like everyone's experience is valid.
Yeah.
And some people just don't, have enough experiences or like the right experiences that would get you in that, better, I guess, like track from point A to point B.
That's true too.
Yeah. But like I get what you're saying. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's frustrating to like watch other people do things in different ways or have very like different viewpoints because you're just like, you might not agree or like it doesn't make sense to you, but that's like their whole world. That's all that they know.
Also, I feel I was actually just thinking about this today while I was working out. It's like for me, I think having that discussion is better than that a person just shutting down the conversation, saying like, "This is my view," and then that's your view. So like, don't intrude into my space about your view, and I'm just gonna hold my view and not having a discussion. To me, that's like, it feels like it's like this person doesn't want to even have the discussion, and it comes across very close-minded to me because like to me, like I at least I think I do. I am coming from a sense that like, yeah, your view can be correct, but let's have that discussion. But when a person just shuts off that conversation, says like, oh, like my view is this, don't say anything. Like don't you have your view, I have my view, and we're not gonna have that discussion. I feel like that comes across a little bit close-minded to me, at least. I don't know. How do you guys think about that?
I feel like, yeah, it's a little bit like you're closing off. You're not really listening to a person and like trying to understand them. But if you've like talked about it and discussed about the whole topic for, a good amount of time, I think that's a good like conclusion to make. But yeah, if
I
you
agree.
just start off like that, I would say, yeah, you're not really listening to the person. You're not really trying to understand them. So
Yeah, I feel like I guess it depends, right? Like if someone's trying to do the whole, let's agree to disagree, like let's not even talk about it, because in their head they're like, well, I'm not going to get you to agree with me, but it's like, that's not the point, right? Like wanting to discuss it is like, I don't necessarily want you to change your mind, but I do want a sense of validation in terms of like, I just want to at least to learn more. Like it would be nice to just to hear more and explore it more. Yeah.
Like help me understand you. You know, it's kind of that sense. So yeah, I think I know we got a little sidetracked, but yeah, that's just
I kind of want to get sidetracked a little bit more though. I have a tangent.
Okay.
So I've been thinking, and I feel like, I don't know if it's you guys or like if it's just me or like a couple of my friends, but I feel like moving into our 30s, I feel like it's been like game changing. Like it's like I've been kind of having like new perceptions and new like kind of like views of things. And I'm not sure if you guys kind of have that too, or like kind of like reflections or anything, you know? But like moving on to your 30s, do you see like it's kind of like a lot different than like your 20s? Or
it does.
How do you guys feel?
It really does.
It's like game changing for me.
I feel so much wiser.
No, I'm not saying like that. I'm not saying like that.
I know. I'm kidding. I think it comes from just like more experience. I was actually talking about this with my other friends the other day. You know how, okay, like for me, I was saying this, there is like so much aspect of myself that I've never discovered because of I've never experienced that me. So for example, like I've never had a relationship that lasted more than like 6-7 months. And so I don't know what kind of boyfriend I will be or what kind of person I am when I'm in like 1 or 2 or even like 3-4 years into a relationship. That is a version of myself that I've never met. I don't know. And once I experience that new James, that will be more introspective and more experience and more of myself that I am discovering, you know? And so I think similar to like, you know, if we apply the same thing, you know, like we're at 30 and we just have so much more data and experience of what kind of person I am or who I am. I think it helps to just learn a lot more about yourself and be comfortable and be a lot more, you know, like just have perspective and looks on things in life, you know?
Yeah. I feel like the game changer, I feel it's like two things, right? And I said it earlier in the podcast. Like when we were younger, that frontal lobe wasn't fully developed yet.
I think that's it.
So it's like, lobe. Yeah, you're not even capable of making decisions in a way where you're like really considering everything that you need to consider, right? Like that right balance of like emotion and logic. And like also too, like not having enough life experience where you can even just like, I think for me, like going into my 30s, okay, I'm turned 29 this month. And I think like this year has been my biggest year for growth. And the real game changer has been the concept of acceptance and just realizing that like, I don't have control over everything and like anything could happen. Cause I feel like when we're younger, you go through school, right? Like you're middle school, high school, college, whatever. You've got all the structure and you're being like graded all the time on a rubric. And like you kind of know like what's coming next and like everything. You're being tested, like very like quantifiable testing and all this stuff. But then once you like get into like your 24, 25, that's your first like full years of like being more of an adult. And then that's, I think, where you get like more curveballs thrown at you, right? and you're like, what is this? Like, I'm not okay with this. Like, I don't understand, or like, I just don't like it, right? It's not as structured. I think when you get to your 30s, you've been through so much shit and you've had so many curveballs thrown at you that you just get to a point where you're like, I'm just like accepting this. Like, this is okay. And you have the experience now where you're like, I can handle, like, I can try to handle like what's going to come up next. And also too, I think you get old enough where you're like, I'm in my 30s, but even then, like, there's still people who don't have it all figured out, but that's okay. Yeah. Because you'll figure it out. Like, we'll get there. And every new experience becomes a new experience. It becomes a new lesson, like good or bad. It's just all like about acceptance. So I think that like plays a big part in like how much we grow and what our perception of things are now as like 30-year-olds. Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, I think for me, it's more of perception on, I guess, like James said, and you said, Lily, it's more of like building that kind of experience. And for me, I like to bounce around and stuff and just kind of like just put myself into like random experiences and just see like what I could get out of it, right? And I think doing so, for me, it kind of helped me realize like what I want, like what I need to do, like where I need to go, kind of. And I think that's the game changing for me. It's just seeing this like new perception of where I need to be, kind of. And it's kind of crazy because I didn't have this like it was kind of weak in like my 20s. Like I didn't like see this like intuition and like these like kind of like putting all my experiences together and helping with that intuition. Like I didn't really have that. It was like very like light in my 20s. So I don't know. It's just wild to me moving into my 30s because I'm like, dude, I haven't seen this. So
would you say you have like almost more trust in yourself now and your intuition now that you're older and you're kind of like letting yourself rely on that more, I guess, with every new experience that you have? Because like you said, I like to put myself in like random different experiences so I can see like where it takes me. I feel like I couldn't do that when I was younger because I was just like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Or maybe like I don't trust my gut in this way.
So I think for me, I'm like more chaotic than you probably. Or like maybe not right now, but like But I just like to just like fill in the gaps. So I guess how it works for me is like when I'm building like these patterns and like where I need to go or like kind of like foreseeing the future, right? Where I think I need to be, right? I don't really know until I kind of like build the experience. So then I could kind of fill in the gaps with my intuition. So I put my like experiences and I'm like, okay, this is what happened. This is what I've done in the past. And this is what I've like, these are like the results of it. And then I kind of use like the intuition to kind of fill up in the like individual gaps, if that makes sense. It's like using your imagination. But if you don't have that experience, it's your intuition is going to be crazy because your imagination is just filling in the gaps. It doesn't have anything concrete. It doesn't have any concrete experiences. So it's filling in the whole thing. It's really bad because you don't have any experience. You're just imagining. Say like if you never fell in love, right? And you're just imagining what it feels like to fall in love. It's not the same as you saying like, oh, I imagine how I would fall in love with this particular person. I could imagine it better because I have some experience and then I could fill in the gap with my like intuition or my imagination, right? It's kind of like that. And that's why I used to do to kind of like predict where I think I need to be.
Mm.
If that makes sense. I don't know. It's like you use something concrete and then you use like something abstract and you use that together. It's just like, it's like a wombo combo. It's like it's just
I kind of know what you mean. No, I kind of know what you mean because like, I think it comes from, I think you have to have a personality for it. Like, I think, okay, I don't want to go back to MBTI, but then,
But that's like what
let's
I'm
just turn
thinking
this
about in
into
my
an
head too.
MBTI.
Literally.
no, yeah, but the thing is like, I honestly use my intuition a lot. It's like, oh, I feel like this. I feel like this is this, and I feel, you know, it's not of like, I see this and this, therefore this. It's not that. It's more like, I feel like this. But then I think the thing about intuition is that you're seeing it and then you have an interpretation to it, but you're just not formulaically putting it out and organizing in your brain. You're just you're skipping a lot of the organization and formulaic part, and you're just going seeing interpretation, and just like very like quick process rather than like formulaic. And so I think I feel similar to Viet in the sense that back when I was younger, I would have this intuition about like a lot of like, especially with like relationship with people. I would see things, but then I was never able to use that information or able to kind of like understand what I'm feeling or what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
But now that I'm older, like I see that intuition, and then I'm able to like pull that information from my own brain and kind of like articulate it and understand it better. Like, you know, like when I see like a certain like toxic feeling from someone, when I was younger, I would just be like, why don't I like this person? Or why do I feel this type of way about this person? It just like, I just feel it. I just feel that way.
Yeah.
But now I'm older. I'm just like, I feel this way because I see that this person has this type of characters, and that kind of character can lead to this kind of problem. Therefore, I feel like I should, and I make this like certain conclusions about it. And I think
it's like you know what's going to happen because you've been there and you've seen everything.
Yeah.
And I know James kind of sees the same thing, like has a similar perception.
Yeah,
because sometimes when I look over at like I perceive something, I look over at James and he looks at me,
and then we're like thinking the same thing.
And no one is like, everyone is just like doing their own thing. But I'm like, do you see what I'm seeing? And then me and James, we're just like, I think I see what you're seeing. And it's like only me and James. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
And there's this one time we were watching actually a YouTube video of this girl, and she was at like a Lenium set, right? And she was just like vibing. It's just, we're watching a live stream of a Lenium like trilogy set. And that's like a DJ for people that's not into EDM. And then we switched it up to like Subtronics on like Lost Lands. It's another DJ.
Completely different festival, completely different time.
A completely different festival.
Yeah.
And then we're just watching, we're just talking, catching up with friends, and we see like a girl. And I look over at James and he looks over at me and we're like, is that the same girl?
Yeah.
And then we had to prove it. Because
no one else
we're
saw
like,
it.
this is wild. No one saw it. And like, everybody's just, and we're not like actually looking for this girl.
We're playing like board game or like talking and socializing.
Like, we're not even actually looking for this girl. We're not even like, but we're like, wait, this girl is like,
oddly familiar.
Yeah, oddly familiar. So James rolls it back and he shows the picture like side by side. Yeah. It's like the same girl. It's crazy. Like,
yep.
That's like the intuition that like James and I see. It's just like, it's powerful, but you have to kind of like build it. You can't just like rely on it. You can't just like,
I think there needs to be a little bit of like a logical processing of that intuition, I think.
Yeah.
It's really interesting listening to you both because I'm trying to think about like, okay, what is like the connection between you two that makes it similar? And it's understanding that I think what you two have developed is becoming more forward thinking with your intuition. Whereas before you were experiencing things, not really having a concrete like definition to define what it is that you're feeling or experiencing, right? But now that you're older, you have these experiences, you have these memories, and now you're able to apply it to the future state, right? Like you said, like you guys are better able to predict what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't relate to that because I've done that my entire life.
Oh my God.
It's so easy for me to think of one situation and then come up with 10 different possibilities and just kind of I almost get into like analysis paralysis of like, well, this could happen and this could happen and this could happen. And then I literally like my intuition, like I've been able like since I was younger to really predict, like I knew that was going to happen. And then that's why I don't do that. So I think my learning is the opposite of you guys, where it's like, maybe when you guys were younger, actually, even today, you guys are probably more comfortable with, I'm going to go ahead with this and I'll see what happens, especially if it's a new experience, right? You're like, whatever, I'll learn. I'll gather it. I used to have a really hard time doing that because I would depend too much on my intuition, try to be like, well, how's this going to play out? I need to know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So that's where I think for me, that's why my game changer now is the acceptance. I'm like, I can't predict everything. I can't control everything. So like, let's just do this and let's see what happens and accept that like this might be the possibility or it might not. But yeah, I think that's really interesting because it's like we both use our intuition, but it's been in different ways, almost in the opposite
We're like
way as we've gotten
middle.
older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've been enjoying that life where you are okay with like just accepting newer experiences or just not being completely in control?
It's definitely made life, I feel more free and I feel like there's less pressure. Because before, right, it's like it was stressful. Like even though I was really kind of good at it, and like again, like yeah, I usually was right, but it was stressful. Like literally coming up with almost 10 different scenarios for how I think something might happen, and then trying to make a decision based off that. Now it's much more about like, let me trust my gut and let me go with this, and like I'm just gonna release like this concept of like, whatever happens, happens. Like, that's fine. We'll figure it out from here because that's what my experience has taught me. No matter what happens, I've been fine. We'll figure it out. It's cool.
Damn, Lily, you're so chaotic now.
I am a bit more chaotic now.
It's good though.
It's good. I like it. Yeah.
Wait, could you give me an example of like one time you had like a Millennium Girl moment, kind of like, oh, that's that Millennium Girl.
Yeah.
Like I guess like when I perceived something and someone else perceived it at the same time.
Or like
you perceived
like
something
that
and
was
you
right.
feel like this was gonna happen, and it was like, oh my god, I knew that was gonna happen, and it happened.
Oh my god! There's been a lot of times that like something like that has happened, and usually it's about social situations.
Yeah.
Like let's just say broad. Friends are being messy, right? They're just like being messy about something. And I knew, I'm like, I know exactly how this is going to play out. Even though I've never personally experienced it, because I'm able to come up with all these different situations, I was able to communicate to them because they came to me asking for advice, but also to other people who were like concerned about it. I was like, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, this is what's going to happen. And I told people, I'm like, this is how it's going to play out. A month or two passed. Exactly what I said happened. And that happens a lot. And it's gotten to the point where people like, they regularly come to me for advice because they're just like, I know Lily can think of like the 3 different ways that something is going to like turn out. And I'm usually right. But it's just frustrating because it's like, I also know that I can't control other people. And people need to learn on their own and they need to do what they want to do, right? You can't like change someone's mind. But sometimes it's frustrating, like watching them do these things and you're just like, they're doing it. Like it's happening. Like, and I just stay quiet. I'm like, I'm not going to say I told you so. But like,
it's so hard sometimes because like you see it sometimes. You see like, oh man, this person's going to fail. Like, dude. But then like sometimes you just have to sit back and watch them fail. I think that's the hardest thing, to watch a friend like fail. because you know they need to fail because they're not going to learn.
Exactly.
And even if you tell them it's not going to change, I think that's the hardest thing for me.
I think I've come to accept it, honestly. Right where I am right now, I feel like when I see it from a friend, and I don't know if it's a bad thing or if I've gotten just more like less forgiving to friends about these things, you know, like but when I see those things and I feel like they're kind of, you know, going the wrong way, I'm just like, I think it's gonna be a good lesson for them. That's what I think of it as. Like I genuinely, because I genuinely don't think, I really feel like one of the hardest thing to do is to learn just from people telling you that it's wrong. You know, like to genuinely believe that someone else is telling you that this is not the right way of doing it, and then you wholeheartedly believing it, and you change your entire like outlook on life because of that. You know, I think that's like so hard. I feel like I personally do that too. You know, like I have to learn it from my own experience to really be able to understand that that's not the way it should have been. You know, like. Yeah. No matter how many times I told my younger self, he's like, "Hey, James, you know, like, don't be seeking that external validation. You know, like, no matter if someone told me a million times, I don't think it would have changed anything."
No, yeah, you would have still done it the way that you did it. And I feel like the way that I look at it is like, I feel like you're cheating someone out of an experience, right? Like you're really cheating them out of learning a lesson on their own.
Yeah.
And I feel like for me, it's like, it hurts because it's like, you don't want to see your friends fail. Like you don't want to see them get hurt. But like, I think one of the biggest reflections I've had this year was understanding that like, I had such a fear of failing because growing up, I realized like my parents did everything they could to prevent me from failing, as in they would tell me ahead of time if they thought something wasn't a good idea, if they thought I was doing something the wrong way, they wouldn't even let me attempt it, right? So I never experienced these like harder lessons on my own. So then when I was like becoming an adult, it's like I had to go in analysis paralysis about things because I was like, I don't want to fail. Because what if I fail? I haven't failed enough to learn that like it's fine. You know what I mean? I haven't learned enough lessons through that way. But now I'm just like, yo, whatever. Screw it. If I fail, okay, whatever. Then that's a lesson. It's gonna be fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a perspective like that helps everyone if they really pick it up when they're young. I wish like I had that perspective.
Yeah.
When I was younger. You know? It's hard though.
It's hard.
Yeah. So all the young listeners out there, you listen to us. Alright, you're under 21 and 18, you're like, having a hard time making decisions. Just do it. Just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So James and Lily talked about a little bit of their romantic experiences with, you know, having this external validation. I talked a little bit of like platonic relationships of like seeking that validation as well. Did you guys have anything else to add?
I think that's it for me too.
Yeah. Well, Lily, thank you for coming on our show.
Yeah.
It was really nice having you.
Thank you both for having me again. You know?
Yeah.
Always a good time.
Always a good time.
Always. I really liked our tangent, actually. That was really good.
I thought it was I feel like it's always good. Even when we think it isn't related. I'm like, it's related.
It's related.
It's related.
And we always seem to talk about like bring up MBTI and stuff. But yeah. You guys can see us on socials. We're on, you know, TikTok. We're on Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. We're the Memory Club Podcasts. I'm Vit.
And I'm James.
And I'm Lily.
Thank you for watching, and peace.
Peace.
Our intro music was produced by Nightwave.